Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Today I want to talk about the different containers we can grow in and why I love my totes. It doesn't matter what size, but it will depend on what you're going to grow and how you're going to grow and where you're going to grow. Well, let's just get into it. Now, these are the totes I generally use around our garden. These are Sterlite. They're 18 gallons and they come in all colors. You can pick the color you want, though I tend to use a lot of gray and black. You will see other colors around here. Sometimes I get colors really cheap. Sometimes I get colors because of my mood. Sometimes I even find them at the thrift store for a buck, and I'll use whatever I can get. These have been fabulous. Now, this particular one is a little thinner. They're all, by the way, a number 5, so they're food safe. This has lasted quite a long time for me. I've got some of them, they might fizzle out in about 2 to 3 years. It will depend on how you use them, how you take care of them. And then I've got some that are, wow, they're like 9, 10 years old and they're still going strong. So, what's the secret to that? Before we get into that one, we're going to continue with this because I know a lot of you are thinking, well, what's that? This one is thinner than this black one next to me. This is a standard tote, 18 gallon. They call it a strong design, and I think it is, and I love it. I make holes in them, and then I put them either on a chair or I leave them on the ground. Now, why do I grow in totes? Well, we have gophers. So if just by having gophers, sitting it on the ground, having holes there, the gophers cannot get to my food. So if you're dealing with gophers, they can be on the ground. If you're dealing with rabbits, you'll want to put them up on a chair. If you're dealing with squirrels and other varmints like that, you're going to want to put it up on a chair and then tool it. If you have soil on in this, even in the winter, and you hit it with water once in a while, it will keep the plastic flexible and supple. And by having it that way, by keeping it well watered, just as if there was a plant in there, even though you're not growing in there, the plastic will last longer. It will break down by the heat like today or the sun if it's empty. And I have destroyed some of them by tossing them aside, thinking I'm going to get back to them in a few days. And about 6 months, a year later, they're still there because I had other ones already set up. That's when they'll start to break down. If they start to get crumbly or you feel dusty, you can paint them if they're just a little dusty, like I do all my plastic resin chairs. Otherwise, if they start to crack, just, if you get 2 garden seasons out of this and they cost what, $7 brand new, you have done well. Think of toilet paper. You use it once, you throw it away, right? Think of how much money you're spending on that. Well, on this, you're going to get hundreds, if not more, dollars of food. I absolutely love this. Why? 18 gallons. I have full control of what I'm growing. I can put a squash in here and some other herbs with them. Different things can grow in here, cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, whatever you want. And you are containing your plant in here to grow as it needs because peppers don't grow the same as tomatoes. You put a tomato and a pepper in there, they're going to be fighting, and one's going to make it and one isn't. One needs more water, one needs less water. Watermelon needs a lot of water. So, this is why I like these mini gardens, as some of you may call it, or I call it, that you can control your garden by multiple totes lined up or on chairs. The bigger the garden, like a big raised bed, the harder it's going to be to maintain. You are going to have to fill it with soil, which costs a fortune if you're not making your own. And then you're going to have to maintain all the plants. The soil's going to drop if you bought it. And you're going to have to go back and spend hundreds of dollars more on soil. I don't have to do this with this. I make my own soil. I add the soil in if it drops, and I create different gardens, like my chair garden that's here, like my rainbow garden, all the different gardens, like the gardens behind me. You can layer them when you have them in here. I have pots in here. These plants, you think there's too many in a tote, but they're in individual pots. So I've got soil in here, then a pot. They can send their roots in, but they're not fighting over space because a lot of these plants have their own pot. So that's one thing. Now, another thing on this is these are stackable and these are heavy duty. They're made to be able to be stacked in a garage with whatever you're going to store way high. So they have to be made strong. And you want to know something? They're not that much difference in price. Brand new, this is 27 gallons versus 18. You can get these a lot of times for $10 and everybody sells them. I've bought them at Walmart. I've bought them at Home Depot, Lowe's. They've all got them. Target's got them. $10. Now the regular price for these are about 15, but they're going to last much longer than the grays. I've never had one break of these. These are really designed good. Remember, you have to put holes in everything. So drain holes where you need the drain holes. So before you do it, and I get my soldering iron out and I do drain holes, you have to think about how you want the drain holes. Do you want them on the bottom? Do you want them on the top here in the front? Do you want to retain a little water if you're in the desert and it's hot? So there's always a little bit of water in there for your plants. That is another video as well, but that is what I'm letting you know. So don't run and make holes until you know where you want the holes. You want to direct the water. You want the water to go in a special area. This type of garden, either one, you have full control. Now, sometimes you can get them on sale. A friend of mine, Maria, she called and said, hey, there's a store, a discount store that's got them for $3 a piece. And Gary went out and bought 20 of them. He's not setting them up yet, but he thought, $3 a piece, they stack. So you have one single stack and you grab them as you need them. And he can set them up anywhere he wants. I picked up some for $3 at a thrift store. One had a lid, one did not. These come with usually a yellow or red lid. Very heavy lid. So you've seen some of my videos where we cut up the lid and make all kinds of projects. You can't cut this lid. The one for this one is solid as a rock. So you can use the lid for maybe a wind shelter or something else. The lids on this one, because they're not really stackable, you can only stack these two high. They're thinner. That's the one we make the projects out of. That's the ones I cut the top out and make the covers for my plants. What I'm trying to stress here is either one is good. Now, of course, if you want to get a great big raised bed or a big trough or whatever, that's up to you. I just want to see you garden. I don't care what you garden in. But I'm going to have to say these are my favorite. And I've got some of those set up, a few, not too many, because I actually prefer to go smaller than bigger for me. 18 gallons gives me plenty of space to grow anything I want. And generally, I don't have to refurbish the inside of the tote with the soil for about 2 years. So I can let it go in the winter, just keep it damp off and on, water it if the plants have fizzled out. And then come spring again, I can add more to the top and continue to grow. If I think that, well, it's a little impacted because it's not from the ground, like the ground is building constantly all the time. That's the way nature does it. Then at that point, this is nothing to empty. I can put this in a wheelbarrow and then I can freshen up with some new soil and leaves and branches and whatever I find around here, more kitchen scraps, and then pile it all back in. This one's a little harder because it's bigger. So that's why Gary wants the heavy duty one. For me and the bigger one, I mainly grow in this. These do, by the way, come in 27 gallons. So you can get these bigger. They can come in 27, 34, different sizes. You can get the lighter ones bigger as well. But I wanted to let you know if you're still looking to maybe get some more or change up your garden or add something, either one of these work. These last longer. You still don't want to leave it in the hot sun of 100 degrees and forget about it. I will let you know, some people say black gets too hot. The soil inside around on the inside, not on the smack edge, stays nice and cool. You'll have the earthworms in there, the microbes in there. It doesn't bother them at all. I'm telling you, we get to over 100 degrees and the soil and the plants are fine. And it will depend on your plants as far as heat, but not because of the tote, just because of the weather. So I'm hoping I'm giving you ideas on how to garden, because to get a raised bed, a large one, and they're metal, and those rust out too. They collapse, some of them. Think about how you want to set it up. If you've got the money to set up a great big large raised bed and you want to go buy your soil, do what you want, whatever you loaded up, and you've got the hundreds of dollars of doing it, do it. But keep in mind, it will collapse just as these do. And when it does, you're going to have to pull out 100 gallons, 200 gallons of soil. And when it collapses, it's impacted. It's not an easy task to get out. So kind of give it the thoughts of which way you want to go. And then with that, you have to somehow make everybody in the large tote, or I shouldn't say tote, the large raised bed happy. Because as it collapses and it's impacting, some of the plants might grow fine, but some of the others will be stressing out. And that's when you get a lot of insect issues, plant disease issues, because a healthy, happy plant generally doesn't come down with a problem. Nature pulls it back to the soil when a plant is stressing. So when the plant is going out, because let's say the roots are all bogged up and tight because it can't grow anymore, or it's not getting enough water, or it's getting too much water, or it's impacted from the other plants. When the plant stresses, that's when the insects come in and that's when the issues come in. And I think you'll notice that as you garden. Let me tell you one thing here. Some of you have told me I started gardening and I failed. You didn't fail. You did not, you learned. I'm learning. I fail. Things happen all the time. It's not failing, it's learning. You think nature is perfect? Think of all the seeds nature puts out to get it right on a few plants. So we have to work with our plants and understand our environment, our growing situation. Do we have a wall that's quite warm? Do we have an open space where there's a lot of airflow? Do we have a canyon where the cool breeze is coming up in the winter or the fall? You have to kind of look around and see how you're growing because everybody's growing different and everybody has a separate, different microclimate. Even here, this has got one microclimate, and if I go over a little bit, they've got a different one. Why? Because they may have a bush that's that tall or a tree creating some shade. The moment you start to create shade for plants, you're creating different microclimates. And boy, did we get off topic on these containers. And I do that all the time. But I wanted to let you know I really do love these. And I'm so glad I can tag them now on Walmart because so many of you used to come to me and say, no, they're $30. No, they're not $30. You can go take a look at them. They even ship them for free in most areas. I get them shipped when I need some more to set up something else. Or I want to retire a tote. It's been out for years and it's starting to split. Or maybe I took a shovel and went through it. I've done that. The thing is, they'll ship it to you. So look around, check your thrift stores. And then if you want something that's heavier, go with the stackable, heavy duty ones, and then it should last a whole lot longer. You can stack on these. So if you want to go ahead and let's say do something like that, or maybe lean up two black ones together and a gray one on the top, and I've done that, you can stack them. These you can't because these are a softer or thinner plastic and they don't tend to break, but they will collapse. So these you can stack on if you want to do that. Ask me questions. You know what my goal is? I want you to garden. I want you to garden where you're going to love gardening and do it for the rest of your life and get all your friends and neighbors to garden with you or also. And the other thing I want is I want you to garden as cheaply as possible because spending a lot of money to garden doesn't mean you're doing better. I don't know what you'd be putting in there if you spend a lot of money on, let's say, fertilizers and stuff. You have to read those labels and see what chemicals some of them have in there. By you gardening and growing something, anything, it is alive, it is real. And by you consuming that, that is perfect for you. And as far as plastic, go watch my videos. I've done the research. You can do the research. Plants can be selective as to what they pull up. And if you remember that, just kind of have a little common sense. I think you'll find out that you can garden for so cheap and grow a lot of food for you. Just think, how do they treat those foods that you're buying at the store that you would take from your garden, bring in the house, and would wither away in 3 days? Where you can get it out of the store and they can sit on a shelf, and I've heard some of you tell me, for a month. Does that make any sense? So, with that, have a wonderful day and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye bye. Oh, I love these. These are my favorite. I wouldn't have a garden if it wasn't for this.